Welcome, everybody. We are excited to have you on our webinar today. We're going to welcome Brittany here in a second to Live Marketing Assets Building Workshop. We're in for a real treat, getting to know more into Gemini. So I hope you guys brought lots of good questions so you can get the most out of today's webinar. Before we jump right in, there are a couple housekeeping things we want to go over. If you'd be so kind, drop in that chat what takes you the most time in your marketing. And what are you hoping that Gemini could potentially help you with? That chat is usually located in the bottom right of your screen. And we want to make sure that any questions you have, place it in the chat. We will be monitoring that and asking Brittany all the questions that come through to get them answered. We also want to just do some shout outs to sponsors this week, as well as a featured member. These webinars are still brought to us free, and it wouldn't be without the generous support of our sponsors. And so we're proud to be sponsored by Grow with Google, an initiative that helps people and communities gain digital skills and job-ready training designed by Google experts through flexible online Google career certificates. It often is just a 3 to 6 month certificate. No prior experience is required. These programs are built to help individuals stand out to employers and connect with opportunities that lead to real career outcomes. So thank you again, Grow with Google, for empowering learners and supporting workforce growth across Nebraska and beyond. Our featured member spotlight is Wessel's Living History Farm. They've been a Grow Nebraska member since 2018, and they are in York, Nebraska. They've been bringing Nebraska agricultural heritage to life. A unique 145-acre living history museum lets visitors take a step back into time to experience farm life from the early 20th century. With historic buildings, antique equipment, costumed interpreters, hands-on activities, and special events that connect families and learners of all ages to the story of agriculture. What began as a vision of farmer David Wessels has grown into a vibrant education destination, welcoming thousands of visitors annually and preserving the legacy of rural Nebraska and for generations to come. So if you haven't, check out livinghistoryfarm.org and be sure you plan your visit for this truly unique experience. I'm now going to let Samantha tell you a little bit about our Grow Nebraska Women's Business Center.
Hello. Yeah, if you're not familiar, the Grow Nebraska Women's Business Center serves startups as well as established small business owners in the Omaha area as well as Lincoln. But we have something every Wednesday from 10:30 to 1. It's just an open office hours, and we call it BAIL. So it stands for Banker, Accountant, Insurance, and Legal. So any advice or specific obstacles that you have with your business surrounding these areas, or more, we also have like some marketing help and some additional things as well. You can come in person and get some one-on-one help. But yeah, check us out on our website to learn more.
And then again, this is just a little bit about Grow Nebraska. We are a membership organization, but we truly can help businesses gain that digital footprint. If you're interested, I'd love to have a conversation to see if we're a good fit to help your business. And then we're so excited because Brittany is kind of a tease into market tech. She is going to be one of our great breakout speakers this year. And so if you haven't attended before, or if you have, we want to welcome you back. I know some people on today are already registered. I can't wait to see you there. But March 24th and 25th, save the date. We're in Kearney, Nebraska. We're going to have an incredible lineup of speakers. Great time to also network. So you're going to earn and learn all in one great spot. So be sure you secure those seats. And if you have any questions about that, let me know. And I know we've had a couple people drop in the chat already, so I think you guys are going to be in for a real treat. So people are needing help creating and posting content or creating a post that's not so time consuming. I think you're going to be pleased with what Jim and I can all help you with. So Brittany, I'm going to welcome you to take this stage. Thank you again for being our presenter.
Thank you so much. It's so fun to be here, and I'm gonna share my screen now, and then I won't be able to see myself or anyone else. So thank you for monitoring the chat. Um, let's see. Yeah. Okay. So Gemini is one of my favorite tools to use for marketing, and I want to be very careful to say that like I don't think this replaces human content creation, but it definitely speeds it up. It makes it a lot easier to scale. I'm gonna hit the slideshow button. Okay, you guys let me know when you can see my first title slide.
Perfect. You're good
Can
to
you see
go.
that? Okay, cool. Okay, so yes, Gemini is one of my most favorite tools. And one of the best parts about Gemini, I think, is that it actually connects if you're a Google Workspace user, and I'll show you guys at the very end if you are curious what all the things that I take advantage of with Google Workspace. Um, but what it basically is like the pro version of ChatGPT is what you get with the Google Workspace. So that's what Gemini does. And I actually preferred Gemini to ChatGPT when I first started using it because it sounded more professional, and it used a lot less emojis, or a lot fewer emojis, which I appreciated. So let's kind of get started why we are here. Like many of you, I am wearing many hats, and you've probably tried AI. A lot of it sounds very robotic, like this screenshot here in today's fast-paced digital landscape, which is, I swear, like one of AI's most favorite ways to start like a blog or anything. It's always the fast-paced digital landscape, or in today's world, comma, and then something very cookie cutter. So that's one of the ways that AI can sound very robotic. One of the things that humans bring to the table, at least in my opinion, is all of our nuance, feelings, emotions, our context from having met with different people, gone to different events. So, all of those things we bring to bear, our relationships, our knowledge of the local community, all of those things we bring to bear when we create content. AI doesn't have that context necessarily, or it has too much context. So it creates everything very like bland. So our goal is to turn AI from generic text into a specific high value copilot. So not a replacement, but definitely a big helper. So my philosophy, I'm a marketer by trade. I really enjoy long form writing in particular. So that's usually the angle I come at it with content creation as I come at it from like a storytelling perspective. I really don't enjoy pay to play models. So anything that depends on a lot of ads, I don't really embrace that. I'm more of a trust marketer. So I like to build organic, high impact systems that you can take and scale and then continue to reuse, like a big pillar piece you can continue to reuse throughout your marketing, all of your different marketing channels. So these are just a couple of results that I've experienced when I've been working with clients. My job is to help clients get marketing done without necessarily having to hire someone full time. So I'm definitely in the fractional marketing space. So today I'm going to share a 3-step process, and then we're going to do a live build. So if someone has an idea that you want to convert and you want to test out, we can do that. Otherwise, I have an example that we can work from. And then we'll talk about how to polish and humanize the output. And then you can ask me anything. So we'll have time for questions for sure. Okay. AI is not a magic button. This is my my kind of favorite and least favorite assumption that people have is that, oh, I'll just have AI do it. I have heard many clients, kind of over the last few months, like, oh, well, why should I hire a photographer if I can just have AI generate this image? Or why should I pay a writer to do it? I can just have AI do it. And all of that, it's valid, but the strategy going into it and then the polish on the other end is really where the magic happens. It's not just putting it into Chat or Gemini and having them create something really great. So definitely the context, the persona, and all of the source material, I think that's really where the human comes into play. So going to the meetings, taking great notes, asking good questions, and then knowing what's going to work to help guide your strategy is where the human beings come into play. So my framework is structure, draft, and then refine. So how to fix the robotic content. The structure is the prompt. So you're defining the role, the goal, and the context. So a lot of times people will say like define yourself as your target audience. So rather than talking to Gemini as yourself, you would say to Gemini, I am, and then you replace that I am part with whoever it is that you're trying to speak to. This sounds very very clunky when I'm saying it, but we'll practice it. So hopefully you'll see what I mean. And then the draft part is when you feed all your raw material, your notes, your transcripts, flyers, any sort of resource, annual reports, past social media content, brand guidelines, all of that stuff. You just plug the whole thing into Gemini for that specific. You can do it for the whole gem, or you can do it for a specific project. So I'll show you what that looks like too. And then in the end, after you've refined it within the chat, then you take it and then you edit it yourself for voice accuracy, emotion, soul. So you bring in the humanity to it. Okay, so I like to treat Gemini or any sort of AI tool as kind of like as you would an assistant. So you're the director. AI is not necessarily the creator, they're assisting you. So when you say something like, create a blog post, you want to treat that person like you would an assistant, or you want to treat the person, you want to treat the AI as you would like an assistant or an intern or somebody. So you give them very specific direction. You're the director. So you tell Gemini what their role is, tell them, you have to tell them what their job is. Then you tell them the task. Then you tell them the audience. And so you have to include all of those very specific things. There's no assumptions. Otherwise, Gemini is just going to make something up. That's not going to be as great. So the raw material, I love feeding AI unstructured source material. And this is probably where it shines the most, because for me, structuring my notes or structuring any of the raw material, even just gathering all of that stuff takes time, but then trying to make sense of it all in my own head or on paper that takes time. So that's the part where AI can really come into play. It will remind you of, oh, well, in this part of the transcript, it said this. So it brings in like key quotes. It will reference very specific line items in a brand guideline. So those things are really helpful. And you can even connect it to your content calendar. So if you do a content calendar in Google Sheets, like I do, you can add that so it will actually update in real time. So if you add your content calendar through Google Sheets today, and then tomorrow you update your content calendar, well, your gem is going to be updated as well. So that's one of my favorite features too. Okay, so the human polish. So I forget if I actually said the 80-20 rule, but I changed it because it's actually 20-60-20. So it's AI does the middle part, it does the 60%, the heavy lifting. So it writes the first draft. You do the first 20, which is structure. So defining the strategy, the role, the audience. And then you also do, and then of course, feeding it the source material. And then you also do the final 20, which is fact checking, removing cliches, rewording things to align with your strategy, and injecting personal stories, voice, or nuance. Okay, so I just sped through that pretty fast. Does anyone have any questions before we do a live project?
There's none so far, so I think you're good to keep
Awesome.
going.
Okay, did anyone bring a project they wanted to work on? Okay, I'm going to take that as a no.
I think you're safe to assume no. If
All
you
right.
guys do, feel free to let me know in the chat and we'll just interrupt Brittany. Otherwise, I think continue on.
Cool. Okay, so this is a fake client. Puma is not a client of mine. I just happen to be wearing Puma shoes, so I thought this would be fun. Okay, so this is a gem that I created specifically for this webinar. You just go into Gemini and you go over to gems and you create a new gem. So that's one of the things that I do all the time. So we're going to describe this gem. So what a gem is basically that's like your brain dedicated space for that. For me, it'd be like for that client, or if you're a brand manager, it'd be for like that brand or that product line or something like that. So you can upload all this different source material. So I've done that already. I created a fake content calendar, which is empty right now, so that's not going to help us, but you'll see some of that structure here. There is so I went into Puma's actual podcast in YouTube and copied their whole podcast transcript, and I copied that into a Google Doc. So that's this here. You can do the same thing with meeting transcripts. So if I try and record all of my meetings, it saves in Google Drive. Then I can easily get the transcript saved here. I'll just reference it. You can go into, okay, so you just hit this little plus button and then you can add from the drive or you can upload from your computer. I've never done the import code, so I can't speak to that, but I do add from Drive all the time because it's super easy across different devices. So if you're on a Chromebook one day and a laptop or like a desktop computer another day, yeah, I just keep everything in the Drive. So then I have an annual report. This is I was trying to find their brand guidelines and I could not find a real enough looking one. I don't know. So this is just their branded products PDF from 2019, obviously. You would want one that is more recent than that. And then down here, I have two screen captures of their website. And so what this does is it kind of helps to maintain the continuity between what you're putting it forth to the public on your website and then what you're going to be creating here with Gemini. So I use Fireshot. That's why you see Fireshot capture there in the title, but that it just takes a scrolling screenshot basically and then saves it as a PDF. Oh, I'm so sorry. Excuse me. It's a yawn. Okay. So take your screenshots of different key web pages. So a lot of times that's going to be the home page, about page, a really important blog that you might have, or like a couple of service pages or product pages. Take the scrolling screen capture, upload that, upload your brand guidelines, your content calendar, meeting notes, anything like that. I will say one of the things that I don't like is that this area here is limited to 10. So you only get 10 files. So pick your favorites. I just uploaded 6 here. So I'm going to say for this description, we are, let's see, describe your gem. I'm going to say we are creating social media content for 2026. So in the instructions, I'm going to say you are I know this is Puma, but we're all small businesses probably here. So you're a small business owner who has limited time. You need to appeal to Nebraskan consumers. Okay, you would probably include more information than that here, but we'll just see what this does here. Okay, so I'm going to update. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do here is no. We're going to say, give me examples of some social media topics we can write about for 2026. Focus on sustainability. Make it appeal to, who do we want to make it appeal to? Let's say all Nebraskans. I don't know. Okay. Let's just see what comes up with. And then it takes a second to think. There is a faster way to do this. You can there's like a button to click in here. I think it must be in a different, no, it's right here. So you can ask it to generate answers quickly, think longer. Anyway, I usually just let it think, I do something else, and then I come back to it. So let's see what it comes up with. This is one great way to use Gemini, in my opinion, is just to brainstorm. A lot of times the ideas are like, they're okay. They're the best if you can have an actual brainstorming session with someone and then record that session and then just add the transcript into the chat. And that way it kind of can organize your notes and then riff on that.
And Brittany, while it's thinking, we did have someone ask
Yeah.
if Gemini content is able to connect to Meta Suites.
You know what? I don't think so. I've never tried, but I don't think it can. There's a couple of tools out there, and a lot of those. Sorry, they're talking about like the Facebook Meta Business Suite. Is that what we're talking about?
I'm assuming.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay, cool. Yeah, I don't think so, but I know that a lot of those, I haven't tried it out with Meta yet. I know that the social media scheduling tool that I use is Buffer, and it has a built-in AI generator. It's just not as robust as a standalone app like Gemini because it's not going to be able to reference like all of my meetings, my content calendar that I have saved in the drive. Like it's not contextualized like that. It's more of just a generic generator based on everything out there on the internet. So I don't think Gemini can post directly to anything. Who knows? That might be coming. That would be a terrifying tool, actually.
Yeah.
But
It might be in the future.
yeah. Well, and I know that Canva does. Canva also has, if you do graphics, social media graphics in Canva, you can post to some channels directly there. And they also have an AI, like a magic tool. Yeah.
And another for Scott asked, they have a pro license for like ChatGPT that allows faster creation. Does Gemini have a paid version as well?
Yeah. So the example that I have pulled up right now is a paid version, but it comes included with a Google Workspace. So what I have, okay, so what I pay for right now is this standard plan, and it's cheaper if you pay annually, which I think is what I'm doing because I was tired of the $14 a month charge. But this includes, so all that, like your custom business email, all that stuff, and then Gemini in Gmail, Docs, Meet. So it's basically the equivalent of ChatGPT Pro, but it comes baked into all of your other Google tools. And that's when I realized that's when I switched because I didn't want to be paying for both ChatGPT and Google Workspace if I can just get Gemini already with Google Workspace. So.
Awesome.
There's also a free Gemini version. I just haven't played around as much with that one because I already had the pro version for free. So yeah.
Which a lot of what you've showed so far is available on the free version. So
cool.
That I can attest to.
Nice.
We did have someone ask what a gem is. You were describing it, but do you want to kind of maybe elaborate on kind of how it's content focused? Like you create it and you kind of put everything you want into this. Can you just elaborate just a little bit more on that?
Yeah. So I forget what it's called in chat because I used chat for so long and then I switched. Do you remember what it's called in ChatGPT? It's like, is it just a chat? No.
It is.
There's a specific
Projects.
word that they use. Project. Okay. Yeah.
Projects.
So it's the Gemini version of a project. So I have a gem specifically created for each of my clients. And as I say that, just so everyone's aware, because this is part of the paid version, they do not use any of these chats or content in their language, like they don't feed it back into like the language learning model. So this is a closed system. So anyway, that said, I have a gem created for each client. I even have a gem created for myself. I call it Brittany's personal health coach. So I feed it my like labs and stuff for my well visits. So it's a way to kind of close a, like to kind of gate a conversation, if that makes sense, so that they're not all going to be talking to each other. Because I wouldn't want, if I had a Puma gem and then I had a Nike gem, I wouldn't want my Puma content to be sounding like Nike, if that makes sense. So you can do the same thing if you have different service lines within your brand. Say you have like a B2B line and then you have a B2C line, like those have different voices, different needs, different, they might even have different like actual brand guidelines. So you want each chat that you have, you don't want to have to re-upload the brand guidelines every time. You just want it to upload them once, right? The foundational content. So I think that's where gems really come into play. If you know that you're going to be working with a really specific set of directions, rather than having to copy and paste. I know content creators that have like a whole Google Sheet or doc somewhere where they keep track of all of their prompts. And there's a whole list of like hundreds of prompts, right? I don't do that because I don't know. It seems like a lot of wasted time to like copy and paste the same type of prompts into the chat if you can just do it one time and then it kind of knows who you are and it learns your voice and the things that you want. So anyway, I hope that answers the question. Does that help? Does someone want to give ask a more specific question? I can maybe speak to a specific example.
Perfect. I think for now, if you guys do have more specific questions, let us know. But I think that helps kind of understand why someone might want to use a gem.
Well, and it's also one of those things where I will update it too if I find it continues to say that these things, and I always have to correct it. Like I noticed the other day it was adding all these emojis, and I was like, when I first started using Gemini, there were no emojis, and I loved it. And now it's starting to add all these emojis again, and I'm like, this is not the kind of content that I want to create. So I need to go back in and update all of my instructions. Don't use emojis, and then that set of directions will carry through to every single chat that I have with that gem. So maybe I have one chat or one gem that I do want to use emojis and then one that I don't. Well, I'll just specify that in the instructions at the gem level. So, and then each chat, it's more specific. Okay, so back to our example, I told it to give us some social media ideas. And in this, let's see, what's it saying here? Okay, so it's giving me the theme. That's kind of fun. An image idea, caption, and it's trying to appeal to Nebraskans. I think that's pretty on point. We're frugal and pragmatic, yeah? Okay, the ultimate upcycle, the beef state. Okay, so I am going to, and then it sometimes has these options to like export to sheets, which I think is cool, but a lot of times it's not as useful for me because I already have things formatted a certain way and I don't want to mess it up, so I usually don't have it export as a sheet. Okay, what I want to do is let's tell it, let's stay away from beef as a topic. Refine the social posts to appeal to young people ages 21 to 30. Okay. That a lot of times, once I have some content kind of already generated through Gemini, I'll have to kind of read it. And just like you would an assistant or like an intern or somebody, they give you something so that you have something to react to. So Gemini is doing the busy work so that you can think more strategically and think, okay, well, actually, I needed to give more direction. So I don't want this other thing, I want this thing. So let's focus on, oh yeah, so this demographic values transparency, aesthetics, and vibes. Love it. Okay, green flags and a partner, in a partner. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, I already know I'm going to ask it to stay away from emojis. I don't know why that's my pet peeve, but it just feels very like we're just speaking in symbols now. Okay. Okay. Write me 4 social posts. Don't use emojis. Oh, I forgot. Be nice to the robots. I say thank you. This is great. This is also me just trying to practice talking like a human, even though I talk to AI a lot. Okay, thank you. This is great. Write me 4 social posts. Don't use emojis, please. Let's use these social posts for, I don't know, let's do April. For April, make them different enough that we can use them back to back. Let's try to tag some local partners and organizations. I don't know what it'll do with that with Puma, but anyway, we'll see what it comes up with. It's developing. I love watching it think.
We did have a comment come in that says since we asked
Yep.
it to demo 21 to 30-year-olds, that maybe that was why it started putting emojis in.
Oh, yeah, true.
They said they speak in emojis.
I reject this. I'm not going to feed into that. I don't know why. I would rather do GIFs, images, anything else, but man, emojis. Unless it's like an arrow emoji, like something that feels useful and not just replacing a word with a picture. Uh, Emojis as bullet points. I'll do that. That'll work. Okay. Oh, this is fun. This is targeting. I didn't even ask it to do that. So it's specifically targeting the cities of Lincoln and Omaha. Includes a visual, a sustainable Puma hoodie. Okay, at this point, so we can read through all of this, but at this point, I'm going to ask it a question because sometimes this happens to me. Why did you choose a sustainable Puma hoodie? Where was that in the source material I gave you? So sometimes especially if you have like an interview transcript or something, this is really helpful to make sure that it is not imagining or hallucinating something. So, and specifically if it's quoting, like if it's adding a quote into something, you want to make sure that it's not hallucinating something because you definitely want that to be accurate. So I never trust the specific information. I always ask it to double check. So you give it the question, where did you get this from? It'll tell you where it got it from. And then I go to where it says it is. And I fact check that to make sure that it is actually true.
And then while it's kind of figuring out if it
Exceed
hallucinated that or not,
Gemini's context window.
um, David asked if the gem only is using the data that you uploaded, or is it also using the internet to create the posts?
I think it is both. A lot of times, like it will reference the knowledge that you give it. It references, and that's really helpful for company specific information and things that you want it to focus on. But then, if that's not enough, it would also, take from other sources. The challenge with that is a lot of times those other sources of information are going to be they could be competitors. So you definitely don't want to be pushing out the same type of content that your competitors are, or like acting like a copycat. Or maybe that other information is wrong. So that's why I would just assume that you want to give it all the most helpful information that you possibly can. And then it'll just kind of fill in the blanks with context from the internet in general.
And then another question is, does Gemini content load directly into Google Calendar?
You know, I don't think it does, but it would not surprise me if that's just like a feature that I haven't explored yet. I I don't think so, but that's a great question. I'm gonna have to research that one because I don't. That would be really cool if it did. I know that you can like that other option I'd showed where it will ask you sometimes like export to sheets. Um, it'll do the same thing with like a doc. Sometimes you can ask it to create a doc or you can ask it to create a slide deck. My challenge with those ones is sometimes it takes more work for me to like fix what it did, especially on the slide decks. If I asked it, which I have asked it to create a slide deck for me, and I thought it was going to be great. And all it did was create a new slide deck. There was no content inside of it. I was like, okay, well, that was not the point.
And when you referenced like the content calendar earlier, was
Mhm.
that, you know, exported into a sheet content calendar?
Yes.
No.
Let me
Okay.
see if it'll pull up here. Just thinking. All right, can you guys see my Google Sheet?
Yes, we can.
Okay, cool. So this is like my template content calendar. Obviously, it will change depending on who's using it or for what client, but I have the dates in here, the week or the date that things are basically due. The channel, so I have these like drop down, so it could be social media, blog, or whatever, and then tag. And then in these other columns, so I write the direction, and then the copy, the column that says copy, is the one where I would paste in whatever I've been working on, either in Gemini or if I wrote it myself, or sometimes I paste in what Gemini wrote and then I edit it in here, or some combination of the above. I tell Gemini to revise however many times, and then I take that and then I finish editing it over here in this cell. And then I have a link to the artwork. So whatever's, if it's a Canva design, a Google photo, some sort of stock image. Sometimes it's like for a nonprofit client, it would be like, here's this flyer we want to share from one of our partners. They have it uploaded on their website. And so then I just include that PDF or JPEG here in this, like a link to it here in this column. And then I have a column for, this is a little beyond the scope of Gemini, but this is fun for me. So anyway, so then I have a column that says approved, which is usually a checkbox. So if it's gone through all the approvals and it's ready to go, then there's a checkbox that says whether or not it can be published.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing.
Yes. And this is actually one of my favorite ways to like, that's why I enjoy Gemini so much, is because it's all baked into the same Google Workspace system. So if you are using Google, if you have a Gmail account and you have all that stuff saved in a Google Drive somewhere, like it's so much easier to upload those as knowledge bases because they're not static. So as I update my content calendar with more content, it will go back in and it will reference that content that has changed since I first updated or since I first uploaded that content calendar. So if I had the content calendar filled out, I could say, please make sure this aligns with last year's copy or something like that. So that would further ensure that there's some continuity, and then your edits and things that you've changed along the way aren't lost. So that's kind of fun. Okay, so let's see. The sustainable, this is where it in the post, are based on Puma's refiber program, which is detailed in the annual report. Okay, so at this point, if this was a real project, I would click on this annual report. I would Control F to find their refiber program or their sustainable hoodie or whatever, just to make sure that whatever Gemini is creating is in fact accurate. This feels like it's taking a lot of time, but I swear it does. It's faster, or at least it's helpful when your brain is like, I can't think. My brain is done working for the day. Okay, so we created some social posts. The other thing that I'd like to do is Okay, we're gonna thank you. Thank you. Now please write a social post based on the podcast transcript. Include a direct quote from one of the speakers. I found that a lot of times asking for a direct quote is what is the most helpful in making sure that this sounds like a human, because then it's going to be trying to sound like it's going to take content directly from the human and not from the internet at large. Um, this is always fun too, and it gives you different post options. So there's different focuses. So there's an education focus. Let's see. So it gives you the visual caption. Oh, there we go with the emojis, man. These tags, I never use their tags that they give, just because they're going to change depending on the channel. So don't depend on Gemini to tell you if this is the correct tag, because it might not be. Okay, let's thank you. Now, please, let's see what it does here. Write a recap blog based on the transcript. Oops. And the strategy we've already discussed. So this is where, and a lot of times once I'm done editing, so let's say I copied and pasted this caption into my content calendar, and then I edited it. I will oftentimes copy and paste my edits back into the chat and say to Gemini, this is my edited draft, just so that it continues to learn from my preferences and the way that I change things. Okay, let's see if it has a blog title. Okay, here's a blog title. This is there's all sorts of bolded. Sometimes I think that Gemini bold, and Chat GPT does this too. Sometimes I think they bold things that it thinks that you should link to, like you should add an internal link or an external link to these words. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but yeah, so I don't know. I would obviously go through this in more detail if this was a real project, but I hope that that gives everyone kind of a context for what Gemini can do. What do you guys think? Is there something else you would like to see Gemini do, or more questions?
So far, we don't have any other questions, but if you guys do
Cool.
have something specific, drop it in the chat.
Okay, well, in conclusion, then what we just built was we took kind of a rough idea and a bunch of notes, gave Gemini a role and a context, and we iterated to get the right tone. I would still need to train it further to tell it to stop including all the emojis, but that's okay. And then we produced a ready to use, almost ready to use. We didn't really edit that much, but a marketing asset that you can use, and then further polish as you go. Okay, well, that's all I have. This is me. I have my own business, Stingray Writing. I do marketing, I do writing, I edit all the creative stuff here in Lincoln. So happy to chat if anyone has any questions, or coach you through how to use Gemini or Google Workspace in general.
Awesome. Thanks, Brittany. And we did have some more questions come in. Somebody said they don't have questions for Gemini, but Google Workspace. So
Oh, yeah.
maybe that can be another session
Yeah.
all itself. Trevor wanted to know, what's your go-to for image creation?
Mm. That's a great question. There's a ton of tools out there. I don't like any of them. I I've tried the thing that I think is the most helpful is so I use Canva a lot for social media, especially, and I will give it an image. So again, with the source material, that's your most important asset is what information you're feeding it. So if I already have an image and I just need it to be fixed, or one that I did recently was a real photo of a building, but I wanted it to look a little bit more artistic. So in Canva, you can make a comment and use the at symbol to tag, and you're tagging Canva. So use at symbol Canva. And what I did was I told Canva to make this image into like a hand-drawn illustration. I want it to look artistic in black and white. And it did. It turned this actual photograph into basically it looked like like an illustrated drawn like charcoal drawing of a building. And then I used the background remover to remove the background, and I had a blue background with anyway, it looked really cool, I thought. So that's my favorite use case for creating images with AI is basically the same as with writing. You have to give it some sort of source material and then give it a prompt. As far as just creating an image out of just direction, it's bad. I can't go home. And the reason why maybe I'm a little biased is I told one of these AI tools I was trying to make myself an avatar, and I told it to I gave it a picture of myself and said, make me look like a marketing professional. Give me an avatar that looks like a marketing professional, and it gave me a mustache. So I don't know. I'm a little skeptical.
Well, I will say if you're trying to generate anything with text on it, make sure you proofread that because you can feed it
Yes.
verbatim what you want, and it's AI, so
Yep.
it still has its flaws. Um,
Yep.
and then David said, I find this content still pretty generic. It didn't seem to use the source material well. Is there a way
Mm.
to force it to focus more on the source material or just refine to death?
Um, yes. So both. It gets better as I didn't want to get I can't really use a real live project because I don't want to showcase to the whole world, my work with my clients. But it does get better the more you use it. So the more you refine to death, yes, that is better. The more, so like the content calendar that I had fed it doesn't have anything in it. So when that is full and you have more source, like a more detailed source material, that is helpful. And you're right, it is generic. Even as super specific as you get, it's still not a human. So you do still have to refine and edit, but it usually provides a good starting place.
And I would even say the more you use a gem, so if it's a conference, if it's a brand, if it's, something that you use over and over, it gets to know what you prefer. And so like
Yep.
Brittany had suggested, like paste back in the content that you use because then it starts to pick up on, oh, it didn't want this emoji or it didn't like this version, you tend to lean towards this one. So it does get better.
Yep. Yep.
Does Gem run out of memory like a project with ChatGPT?
I haven't encountered that. I know that like, you can't upload more than 10 source documents. Um, and sometimes, like, the size of file that I try and upload, it won't like. I don't have off the top of my head the exact, like, numbers or data on like what it will and won't accept other than the 10 files is all it will take. So you got to make those 10 files count. But I don't know. I've been able to go back and reference things that we chatted about like a long time ago, even like over a year ago. So I haven't encountered that yet. I'm sure that has those limitations because, as any software, they're going to keep trying to make you upgrade. It's just like Google Drive. I have like a terabyte of data. I think I've run out already, so I'm going to buy more, but that's probably on the horizon if it hasn't happened already.
Yeah, I haven't ran into it either, so I'll be curious to see if it comes down the pipeline.
Yeah.
Awesome. We've got a couple of thank yous for sharing. Thank you for the webinar. As a reminder, we will send out the recording to this. And so if you want to connect with Brittany directly, her contact information will be in there as well. That way you can reference and kind of see what she showed us today and how you can utilize it. And we do, I just want to share quick. We want to thank you again, Brittany. We appreciate you sharing your insight. Please take just a brief, seriously, it's only a couple questions. Give us your feedback. What did you think of this training? Do you want more in depth, more entry level? Do you have other topics that you would like us to bring for the training? We would love your feedback. It's short and painless, I promise. The more we get back, the more we can tailor these free trainings to what our audience is wanting. So we would definitely appreciate your feedback. And then please join us February 19th. We are bringing in our main stage speaker, Judy Fox, and she's going to leverage LinkedIn video for 2026 growth. This is really kind of a sneak peek into what she will be bringing to the main stage come Market Tech on the 24th and 25th of March. And so be sure you register. This is a free webinar, and so it'll be just like this one, just a different speaker. And so join us February 19th, get registered for that. And then again, Market Tech is coming up. We want to see everyone there. We want to see Nebraska businesses thrive, to be an entrepreneurial hotspot. And so be sure you secure your seat. If you have questions, reach out to us. We're more than happy to tell you more about it. And the lineup is going to be great. Brittany will be there. So if you have follow-up questions, make sure you attend her session. And again, thank you, everybody. I don't see any other questions in the chat. Brittany, thank you again for your time, and we will look forward to seeing everybody again February 19th.